Now we have done so far revenue budget based on the historical cost and also based on the market segments. We have done F&B budget based on the each meal period and in-house cash capture ratio, average cash, and we last learned was the labor cost for doing the head count, the salaries, and also the other benefits, the other employee cost, and we can fill it up into the P&L. So that was the labor cost budget. Now there are what the leftover lines in the our P&L budget would be these cleaning and other expenses. So how do we do these budgets? This is a bit tricky, so let's understand it in a simpler way. So most of these expenses, you may have certain details for bigger expenses. So some of these expenses will be very small, only $50 a month or $100 a month, $200 a month. For example, like cleaning services for printing and stationery, and other guest supplies or miscellaneous or reservation, training fees, unique uniforms. Those are difficult, those are very small costs, but some of the costs can be very big. Like for example, cleaning supplies, you may have a contract with an outside company. So if you have a contract with outside company, it's pretty easy. So I have done a small template here. Let's go to that template. Cleaning supplies. So if you click, if you come under the P&L, you will see another line, working details for P&L. So first is cleaning supplies. So cleaning supplies can be calculated based on two ways. One is per occupied room cleaning and the fixed cost. So fixed cost usually remains for your contracts. So if you have a contract, if you have outsourced the cleaning services in your hotel and you have given a contract, then it's pretty simple. You just need to plug the contract value here. Each month gonna remain the same, no changes, but there are still some variable costs which are based on per occupied room. So you need to have a historical data of all your expenses divided into three categories. One is fixed cost, which is here. So you need, out of total expenses, you need to understand how many are fixed every month. The rest of the expenses will be divided into two categories. One, regular expense. One is one-time expenses, the extraordinary expenses. So you need to ignore those one-time expenses because they are not likely to repeat. For example, any special maintenance that you have done, any special big cleaning that you have done only this year, next year is not going to repeat. So you don't need to put that into the calculation, otherwise your per occupied room calculation will not be correct. So once you know how much is my per occupied room cost, out of, let's say last year you spent $800 in total, correct? Out of this 500 was fixed, okay, correct. The rest is 300 left only. So last year we had 200 room nights occupied. So the per occupied room night expense was $1.5. So $1.5 you can plug in here, right? So the cost, if you are going to have 300 room nights this year, then the cost, total cost will become 100, because the room nights are 200 that we are seeing here. Yes. So let's make it a different color so that we can know. Okay, yeah, okay, and make it a bigger maybe, so that we have a clearer identification. Yeah, and also the total budget. So every month is going to be different. So if you are going to change the contract in new next month, you think that they will be negotiating, you can negotiate a new contract. The contract is upping for expiry, you think that contract value is going to now go down or going to increase, you can factor that in your budget. If you are going to implement a new hygiene practice, new cleaning practice like disinfection due to coronavirus or any other pandemic, you have to implement a new cleaning standard in the hotel, the cost will increase, correct? So you may need to increase. If you are spending $1.5 in the past, now you're going to spend $2 in this month, so the cost will increase. Now the benefit of doing this breakdown is that tomorrow you will be able to explain it to the owners or to the managers if your last year cost was 800, why you have budgeted for 900? Because you have a breakdown, fixed cost plus the occupied room cost based on the occupied rooms estimated. You may want to do some some engineering and some best practices or cost management and want to reduce the per occupied room. If you have good plans, you think you can do it, then you should reduce, otherwise you should not reduce. The other expenses are also similar, like cluster expenses. If you have, usually the cluster services means that the money is going to be charged from the chain hotels to their other hotels under their management. So these are usually a fixed expense per month or based on the revenue, so you can estimate them very easily. Commission, you need to understand how much commissionable business you are getting at this point of time. So if you are getting, let's say, 20% of your total business which is coming out of commission, on which you have to pay a commission to your OTA, to the travel agent, or to any other guys, you may need to estimate that. Plus then how much is the commission percentage? If let's say you are paying a 10% commission only, then you can budget that up for commission. Otherwise you may need to increase the commission percentage. For example, now you may know that some of the OTAs are going to increase the commission or may want to reduce the commission, so you may need to factor that in. If you are doing any special promotions on the OTAs that you think your revenue is going to increase, you can definitely budget that in. Now there are some fixed means not based on the ratio, but let's say you may have a group for which you know you have to pay commission to any travel agent or any person who has introduced the group, so you may factor that in. Food and beverage, again you may have a similar way, fixed cost plus the per occupied room revenue cost you may want to explain. There are other departments, other lines as well. You may need to for if you want to know what are the meaning of these revenue expenses, you can take my course on the accounting charts. Otherwise I will upload a document which will help you to understand the meaning of these rows. I don't want to bore you with the details of each and every line here. You can read it by yourself, it's pretty simple. But the idea is you may need to do the similar way for your expenses. Identify the trend, identify what are the fixed expenses, identify what are the variable expenses, and variable into what, per occupied room, per cover served. For F&B also we are looking at the similar concept here. So where we are seeing the F&B expenses. So here we are seeing similar concept, food cost as a percentage to the revenue, which we know pretty well. Music royalties are usually fixed, linens similar, per cover, and then the fixed cost. So you can make an estimate on every line of expenses, how much is variable, how much is fixed, and you can make a plan for those. And then you can do the similar way for other departments. So other department also, cost of sale, other lines of expenses, into details, your administrative expenses. For administrative expenses you may need to have a detailed breakdown of major categories in each expense. For example, like for your credit card collection or your contract services, what are the contract services that you are paying, which contract is it, when is going to expire, what will be the new expiry, do you think that the amount will increase or not increase. Human resource expenses, legal services, what is the existing breakdown, so that you can make a judgment what is going to be repeat in the future and where you will be able to save, or what will be required and what will be not required in the next year. So you can make a good judgment or in the future. So you may need to have a more detailed working for major lines, not every line, which is so you may want to choose bigger lines so that you can look at them in more details apart from the labor. and then you can write them down in here, do the working in below the P&L, and then link it up to the top, so that it's easier for you. Then you will do the same for information technology, sales and marketing, M&U, and other departments. So once you have done this, you will be able to get the grand P&L.